What's up, guys? It's Julian Hemmings here. Um, I want to make sure that I talk to you about how to create a winning personal narrative. I'm sorry if there's any noise in the background. It's going to be a very long video. It's going to because it's going to be really in depth. So I'm not going to be kind of raising my voice or talking loud. I want to make sure that within this conversation, within this video, I am doing everything I can to, address how to write that incredible narrative that will get you into some of the top schools in the country. Um, it's not easy, but that's why, Hemmings Law School Consulting exists so that we can guide you through this process. It is a very doable process to help you become a master storyteller. Um, so, I don't want anyone to fret because there definitely isn't a need to. So let me share my screen with you and we can begin to talk about, the steps and in creating that narrative. So let me put it on the slideshow. So the presentation is called How to Write a Winning Personal Narrative. My name is Julian Alexander Hemmings, and I own the company Hemmings Law School Consulting. The first step to writing an winning personal narrative. Notice I didn't say statement. I think statement sounds. I don't agree with that as being the position in which you should be taking this from. This should be a story. This should be something that you're connecting to, guiding the reader through, and it should enable them to feel things. So I think step one is be honest, right? Within your honesty. Oh, 1 second, guys. 1 second. 1 second. I'm so sorry. Uh, okay, we're good. We're good. Just want to check on something. So the first thing you should do, right, is write about something that that fuels your passion. Um, a time in your life that you love to recall, that you love to talk about, because what you don't want is for you to be bored when you're writing. Because when you're bored doing an assignment, everyone's going to be bored doing the assignment. And you don't want the reader, which is the admissions officer, to be bored reading your story. You want them to feel this similar level of passion and excitement as they're reading your personal narrative. The second thing, do not hide your scars. If this is your truth and it's a little hard to talk about, but it's compelling and it relates to your narrative, talk about it, because you being vulnerable will give the admissions officer access to your heart and your mind. That is going to be a really essential thing when they're making the decision, because there'll be a feeling of kinship and they might be able to overlook certain places within your application that are not as strong, because they were able to see that, hey, this person is passionate, this person is driven, and this person has a story that will allow them to be a really good member of this law school community. You want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to present yourself as being an interesting member of that classroom. You have a unique perspective. You have a perspective that has been informed by your experiences. So discuss that within your personal statement. Use emotive language, right? Talk about how you felt, what did you feel when you saw something? How did the environment smell? Like, use your senses so that you can allow the admissions officer or the reader to be in your shoes. You want them to see through your eyes. If you can get them to become you, they'll develop an investment towards the story. Again, be descriptive. What did everything look like? Because you want the admissions officer to see through your eyes. Elaborate on your accomplishments. So this is a controversial one, right? Because you hear people say, don't do that. Don't talk about anything you put in your resume. I wrote about what I put on my resume, but I elaborated on it. So elaborate on your accomplishment, but make sure that it ties to the narrative. You don't want to list your accomplishments in a way that it distracts from the personal narrative. You want to list your accomplishments in a manner that highlights you as a person, your story, and that describes your character. What I think we should be striving for within the personal statement is for you to reveal traits that you have. And so everything that you're weaving together should come into this puzzle to reveal you. And of course, right, show more than you tell. So instead of saying, I am smart, you'll describe a time when you had to achieve a certain level of scholarship. You wrote a scholarly article. Instead of saying I'm driven, you talk about you organizing something that was able to impact people around you. You don't want to tell that you're amazing. You want to show that you're amazing, right? I have no doubt that anyone watching this video, for how long it's going to be, is a pretty deep, interesting, and intelligent individual. So it'll be fine. Just keep on describing, keep on thinking, and show more than you tell. So let's go to the second page. Excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry. Yes, perfect. Tell a story, right? As I was saying before, you want to make sure that your narrative has emotion, but you also want to make sure that your narrative is cohesive, right? They're very key to your personal statement, or personal narrative success, because it is difficult for other applicants to tell a story. If you become a master at storytelling, then you'll be able to stand out amongst other applicants. Why is that? I think that um, a lot of other law school students don't function from a place of like imagination. I don't think that, undergrad really encourages storytelling as I think they should. But that's the best way to persuade your audience to understand you. Sometimes the fact is only one element of persuasion. It's an important element of persuasion. You got to make sure that you're telling the truth within your narrative. But if you're just revealing a fact and not describing the implications of the fact, what does it mean? What does it connect to? What does it do? You're not acknowledging that each human being you interact with has a heart, not just a mind. And the heart is the strongest place to connect to persuade an individual, as well as the mind. But it's the heart. If you can hit the heart, and then of course you follow it with the mind, you make it seem as though you are a logical person to put in this space, but you are also a good relational fit, then you're doing something that's pretty incredible to that admissions officer. You're crossing all the checks, you're dotting all the I's, you're crossing all the T's, because you're displaying that, hey, I have a cohesive story, I have good motivations to be here, I have an experience that enabled me to be placed in this position in this time, and to not put me within your community would be a mistake. I think those are pretty interesting positions to work from. So again, cohesion. So making sure that you have a beginning, middle, and end to your story, making sure that you're not jumping around, and the emotion, right? I feel these things. I'm passionate. I want to be here. When you can kind of tell something that's organized but also emotional, not dry, I think that does a lot for admissions. I think that because they're reading, look, let's put ourselves in their shoes. Okay. Imagine you're sitting down and you have thousands of applications to read from now until what? I don't know. As far as it goes, sometimes it goes as far as June, right? You're reading thousands and thousands of applications. They're saying the same thing all over. I did this, I did this, I did that. And it gets boring. Well, you don't want to be as boring. You want to make sure because you're not boring. No one in this world is boring. We all have a story. Highlight your story. Tell your story. Be passionate about your story and give that admissions officer a break. Give them the ability and opportunity to have some entertainment. Give them a story. If you're able to do that, I have no doubt that you'll get into a great law school. Let's talk about the keys to crafting a compelling narrative. I don't want to rush it. So if you guys want to go ahead, get some tea, put me on pause. I'll still be here. But I want to be able to just make sure that, this is a very chill space. We're not rushing it. We're going to do everything we can to slowly walk you through the process patiently because I love this. So this is a lot of fun for me to do. I love talking about writing stories, writing narratives, supporting applications, kind of what I love. All right. Craft a hero. How does one craft a hero, right? I recommend that you use Joseph Campbell's A Hero's Journey as a template. And we'll go through the hero's journey within the presentation, and I'll go through some particular steps to use, an example, so you'll understand what I'm saying. Develop a dragon. This is connecting to the hero's journey, and so a dragon is a conflict or enemy that makes the hero, which is you, rise to the occasion, right, and accomplish your goal. So this connects to the cohesion portion. I don't want you to write an aimless story where there is no conflict, there's nothing interesting, it's just you spitting facts. I want you to write a different personal statement or personal narrative, excuse me. I want you to write a personal narrative that gives them a storybook feel. This is a very experimental approach. I'm not giving you the same advice as other admissions consultants. I will never do that because I break rules. I experiment. It's a little different, but it works. You need to create a story. You need to write something really interesting. You need to talk about the conflicts and dragons in your life that you have had to overcome and how you became a better person, which goes to the third bullet point. Display the growth of the hero, which is you. You're the hero here, through the narrative. If you can do this, think about Harry Potter, how he goes through all 7 books to eventually become the hero that we need to face Lord Voldemort. Frodo Baggins carrying the ring to Mordor and having to escape and eventually defeat Sauron, right? We have we can go through Percy Jackson, right? Eventually defeating Hades. These are Jesus Christ in the Bible eventually defeating the devil, right? The hero, this hero narrative through Joseph Campbell within his book, A Hero of a Thousand Faces, has stood the test of time. It's worked. It's gotten people incredible amounts of money. So if we apply this approach to law school applications, And I think it's going to work extremely well. I think it'll work for you extremely well. So implement it. And towards the end of your story, explain how the hero's next stage of development is law school, right? How do you go through this entire narrative, defeating all those dragons, becoming this type of person that makes you ready for the future, and that future being law school, right? How does your story continue? Okay. And if there's a bigger dragon, how did your defeating of this little dragon, right, whatever that is, allow you to go to law school to become an even greater hero to defeat the much larger dragon of injustice or helping your family escape poverty? These are really deep questions you need to ask yourself, because you need to view yourself in a way where you're making a difference, where your acquisition of legal education will actually change the world. It's very lofty, but when you're writing, you have to feel like this is something that's really important to me, and I can really impact other people, and I can defeat that dragon. Let's go to the next slide. So I got this from Grand Valley State University. I want to read it and we can talk more about it. So the monomyth is, let me put my glasses on. I have really bad astigmatism. The monomyth is a term coined by Joseph Campbell, commonly referred to as the hero's journey. It examines the stages of the hero who goes on an adventure, faces a crisis, and wins, then returns victorious. The monomyth has continued importance as a tool for analysis, as well as a guide for creating narratives of all kinds. By charting a story along its stages, a user is able to ascertain what a story is lacking, as well as ensuring all of the important elements are included. The framework is currently being used in research, literary analysis, digital game design, advertising, and marketing, as well as by screenwriters and authors. This is a tool that is being used by a wide variety of people of these incredible career paths. Yet, admissions officers haven't used this as a tool for you guys. Not admissions officers, admissions consultant has used it as a tool for you guys. I think that's malpractice. Because if you're able to use this tool to tell a story, to craft a narrative, and it's given these people success, why is it that if you used it for your law school applications, this would not enable you to be equally as successful if you use it successfully? You need to adopt the monomyth model within your application so that you can overcome numbers and overcome any deficiency within your application. And let me be honest with you here. There is not one person that does not have a deficiency. If you were perfect, you cannot use this because you need to have a dragon. There needs to be an obstacle that you have faced that has made you doubt yourself, that has made you insecure, but you overcame it. This is a requirement. And let me tell you why I know you're going to have this requirement. You're human. Being human is a constant battle and a constant discussion between flaws and will. So you can overcome it. You need to do everything you can to connect. 1 second. Sorry, guys. All right. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So let's give an example of how we're going to approach this. Okay. So this is our hero right here, right? There has to be a call to adventure. What's the purpose of you going out on this journey? Was there someone that called you to it? Was someone that pushed you to it? A supernatural aid. This can be, doesn't have to, but this can be a muse, certain motivation, a parent, a grandparent, a school, something that you did that caused you to have a direction to law school. Are you going to have a supernatural aid? Of course you're not. Or maybe you will, but more than likely you won't. Maybe it will be probably more than likely be a real person, a person that is very natural, an event that is very natural, very explainable by science. But this will be something that guides you and calls you to move forward. This supernatural aid can connect to like a mentor, and to be a mentor or a helper that helps you to move forward, right? But before you're able to move forward, you're going to call to adventure. You need to have the entering of a certain threshold. What this means is you're escaping the world that you've known, that you've grown up in, the farm boy leaving the farm and going off to an adventure with his friends. You need to discuss how you left the farm, took the risk, and you're moving forward in this new world. Once you're able to move forward from this new world, right, forward into this new world of law or whatever you're doing, you have to talk about the challenges and temptations that you encountered when you were here in this new world of risk. And what did you do to overcome, meet those challenges? But, possible failure. And which is the abyss, right? And through the transformation, right? The death and rebirth of your maneuvering out of this space, right? How are you becoming better? What did you learn from that initial defeat? Or this failing, this insecurity that you're having? And there's going to be a moment where you're, of course, this is what we're calling the transformation portion. And when you're ready to fight the battle again, this is the atonement piece, where you're having an almost reparation for the insecurity, defeat, struggles, the challenges, and temptations you faced. And how this atonement, the reparation that you're facing is a dragon. You overcome it and you're moving forward. And now you're having a return, right? To the point where you're writing the story now. With this, after you defeat the dragon and you return, you return to your land. You've returned to this moment of maybe homeostasis, but you're a different person. You've learned the lessons, you've grown, and you've defeated the issue. See, this is very compelling because it's cohesive, but it's interesting. And there's a theory with the monomyth that it's very natural to human beings to understand stories through this lens, because throughout human civilization, all across the planet, there is this basic structure of the hero's journey within all of them. These civilizations that sometimes probably never interacted with each other. So you're able to connect to this psychological point of humanity and how they give out narratives. Then you'll be able to you're increasing the likelihood of success. Is it a perfect theory? No, it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. But it increases your likelihood of connecting to your reader. And that's extremely important. Okay, let's move forward. Finding a trusted editor. Okay. I'll tell you two stories. All right. I'll tell you about my worst editor, and I'll tell you about my best editor. And I'll give you the teaching, the lesson that I learned through both experiences. Okay. My worst editor was a rando from a consulting site that was really aggressive, and which is nothing wrong with having a new person review your work, but you don't want to have too many people. But someone who doesn't understand your psychology, someone who's being overly critical, someone who might not like you for some reason. And maybe none of those things are true. Maybe they're a great human being. You just don't trust them. And that's fine. You have the right with your creative work to say, I don't want to work with this person. If you have that option, that's fine. You trust that instinct. And if you say no, move forward. This individual made a really strange, this worst editor made a really, I had two actually really bad ones. One made a really strange racial comment about my work. The second person questioned, why would I even do law? I asked, I said, why are you asking me? Or not even just, it's okay to ask, but why are you have so much disdain for law for a law school consulting site? Why are you even helping me? Right? So it was a horrible experience. None of their advice worked. I didn't even use anything that they gave me. My best editor, I've been working with for about 5 years on my award-winning work, no issue. In fact, when they gave me critiques, they were harsh, but they were honest and they were given to me and I trusted them. They made my work so much better than what it originally was. But it wasn't to the point where I couldn't see where I was wrong. And if I couldn't see something in the moment, I still trusted my editor's guidance. And on top of that, if I disagreed with my editor and I said, I don't agree with you, there was not a conflicting relationship there. There was an understanding that, hey, you know what, this is something that my writer, that my author believes in. And if I can't push the author forward, let me find a way to maneuver and work with the author so we can create the best piece together. It's a partnership. There is not a dynamic where there's the editor and the author's here. You don't want a dynamic where the author is here and the editor's here, because then there's no need for an editor if you know everything. So you want to have a very fair and balanced relationship. And the lesson that I learned is, like, good editing requires a very intimate relationship. This is your baby. This is your creative work. You need to be with someone that you trust, that's there for you, that won't judge you, but that only wants to make sure that your voice is being made clearer. Your editor is not a speechwriter. Your editor is your microphone. Your editor is your translator. This is your story. You write whatever story you believe in. Our job as editors, our job as consultants, is to trust your judgment and work with you and do everything that you need to make sure that you have a microphone and you're getting out to as many people as you should. We serve you. It's not the other way around. And I feel like sometimes editors get that wrong. The next thing, of course, is use OwlSite. I love editing people's work. Some stuff is a little extreme. And if you can learn basic grammar rules, you could focus on comma usage, how to use commas properly, which I'll have a video later on about that, and learning how to use semicolons correctly. That makes the job a lot easier, right? Remember, this is 30 minutes, right? I can only do so much in 30 minutes. If you want 2 hours, you got to pay a little bit more, right? We'll work on the billing for that. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna bleed you dry. I won't. This is not about money for me. This is about making you be successful. It's not. It's never been and it'll never be about money for me. I don't care about money. I don't work for money. I do nothing for money. Money comes second. Money comes last, actually, to me. Always has, always will. The thing that comes first is making a difference. But you got to you got to know some grammar rules. You got to know these things first. And I strongly recommend Owl Site, because if you're going to go to law school, you got to make sure you know how to use, you know, grammar rules. It's just better for you to do that before you even enter this field. It's not too much to explain, not something to harp on. Very simple thing. If you need help with it, let me know. I'll work with you. I have no problem with that. There's no shame in learning. I didn't know proper grammar rules, so I went to college. I went to some pretty tough schools, but I learned. People had patience with me, and I became an award-winning writer. Point blank, period. It happens. And of course, purchase a consultation uh, with the Hemmings Law School Consulting. That helps a lot. I've had a lot of good help. I've read a lot of applications, and I'm very supportive. I believe in you guys. I hope you guys take the chance to believe in me. Um, I think we can do great things together. So, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It'll be up as soon as I can get it up. Right now, it is about, what time is it right now? It is 2:31. I just knew I had to make this video. I knew it was going to make a big difference for some people. So I want to do everything I can to make a difference. So thank you guys so much, and have a great night, or great morning, or great afternoon, whatever time you watch this. No pressure.